morning. I'm going to talk about reading. How boring. These are the results, once again, always again, of the 1992 National Assessment in Reading. These are the results that fueled the Reading Initiative. This was our first assessment in reading, and what we learned from it was that the majority of our fourth graders were not even testable. They were basically not reading. It was 43% who took the test, another 15% who got waived. Still more sobering, here's the breakout by income levels. And what you see is that of children of poverty, 75% were not measurable. Education, public education was created precisely to offer opportunity to those children whose homes and parents could not. And what these data told us was that our schools were failing, especially those children for whom they were invented, those children who depend on schooling for their formal education. Here is the 2007 assessment results, and as you see, we've made significant progress. If you break it out by ages, what you find is that we've made substantial progress in teaching children how to read. It's real, it's invaluable, but we haven't done much beyond that point in teaching them progress beyond learning how. So I'm going to stick with the theme and use vocabulary as my vehicle to talk about this. Here's the crux of the vocabulary problem. Only 4,000 different word families account for 96% of oral language, of spoken language, of talk. But the number of different words in popular contemporary print is at least 1 million, and that's not including proper nouns. 1 million minus 4,000 rounded, it's 1 million, right? So there are a couple really strong implications. The first is that acquiring a literate vocabulary depends on reading. It depends on immersing oneself in print. And bear in mind, the issue here is not just words. Words are just pointers to concepts and relations and distinctions on which education and knowledge pivot. Second implication is that reading depends, understanding what you read depends on having that literate vocabulary. And in fact, conversational levels of vocabulary are held to limit a reader to grade 4 or below. Sort of a dilemma. So, interestingly, this discrepancy between the language of oral language, the language of talk, and the language of print is true for everybody. Homes and neighborhood differ in which 4,000 words, little bit in the number, but essentially it's the same for everybody. Nobody's home, nobody's neighborhood speaks the language of books. So what does differ between homes and neighborhoods are parental reading practices. Parents in some homes, in your homes no doubt, read to children with children. They help them learn how to read. They help them pick stuff for their reports. They help them through their algebra problems. This is the mentoring that we've been hearing about throughout the morning. When I look at this stubborn achievement gap over the years, how it just won't shrink, the question that it always begs is, to what extent is this the single factor keeping that achievement gap alive and well? So, productive reading depends on reading. It depends on understanding, and so there's sort of two choices. One, you can make sure you give kids books that are easy enough for them to manage on their own if you're going to ask them to read by themselves. And this is the most popular, the broadest strategy for supporting reading of below grade level readers in our schools. We give them books that are easy. We give them so-called high-low books so that they'll be able to read on their own. Problem with that strategy is that those books don't offer the language, the vocabulary, and the modes of thought that these kids need so urgently to encounter. The alternative, giving kids challenging books, requires that somebody be there to help them through the hard parts. So it follows that reading with kids, if this is the problem, and if our kids are depending on schools, it follows that somehow getting schools to read with kids every day, individually, should be an educational goal of highest priority. Where the problem is simply logistics. 10 minutes per day times 25 kids is more than 4 hours a day. We cannot do that in our classrooms. So, recognizing this problem, I also found myself in a position to address it, most importantly, my home was a place called BBN Technologies, which is where wizards stay up late, and many of them do speech recognition technology. So we worked together to develop speech recognition-based tutor. And I'm just going to quickly show you. I'm trying to make this real for you. I want you to go for it. These are actually adult data. These are gentlemen living at the Sumter-Bushnell state prison in Florida. And what this graph shows is that no matter how many courses they take in adult basic education, their reading scores have not budged. They're fourth grade level, fourth grade level, fourth grade level. Some of these guys have taken 14, 15 courses. What we did is we gave them speech recognition-based technology, and the technology was designed to have real-time assistance with difficulties, to give them vocabulary support, to show them their fluency and how they were growing, to give them pop-up questions so they had to think about what they were reading because they didn't know when they were going to be asked, and continual progress monitoring, and always above-level texts, the kind you would read with your kids. And what we found, just 25 hours, 2 grade levels, nearly 2 grade levels, 1 minute. I cannot tell you how happy these people were. They had begun to believe they just couldn't do it. To learn, you have to pay attention. You also have to have information and support. So there may one day be modes and methods of learning that are more effective than reading. For now, however, very important, there is no contest. We learn lots of things by watching. We learn lots of things by listening, but not very well. We learn things by doing, and somehow, psychologically, reading counts as doing. So videos and lessons are invaluable in terms of laying the foundation, in terms of building the background knowledge, in terms of setting the mental Velcro for learning. But whether the concern is information, vocabulary, memory, or thoughtful understanding, reading is still the magical medium. And text is still the principal archive for what we as peoples have learned forever and what we want our children to have access to. Thank you.